Hey world, being Willie, come back live with another video, another live stream. With a couple of minutes here. Actually, I wanted to just kind of piggyback off of my last video. And if you didn't get to check out the last video, you check that out. I was talking about politicians and narcissism, but I wanted to kind of go into specificity when it comes to actually uh, this, these these politicians making these false promises. It's unbelievable. If you didn't hear about it today, uh, Bernie Sanders as well as Elizabeth Warren, they have these new student loan uh, forgiveness proposals, and these proposals are supposed to, actually forgive the loans of 45 million uh, people in America that have student loan debt, and they're supposed to forgive these loans. Now, like I told you before in my last video, what the adversaries are saying is that where are you gonna get the money for that? And I just thought that was crazy because, you know, one, Bernie Sanders is saying he wants to just totally forgive it and we'll pay for it in 10 years. He's saying that Wall Street will pay for it. Now, family, if you never invested before and your family's never invested before, you know, then you're not gonna know what that means when he says he's gonna make Wall Street pay for it, because all you basically remember is, if you're old enough to remember, or if you was financially inclined to remember, in 2008, the big bailout, right? The auto industry and the bank industry got bailed out, right? So if you remember that, then what you really know is that there are a lot of money on the table. And who had to pay that money? That was, quote unquote, the American people, right? And so now you have what, 45 million people that wants to actually 45 million people that have student loan debt, and you have a couple of people that's running for president that wants to come up with a way to forgive it. Now, I want to talk about the two ways that each one of them come talking about forgiveness, but I want to say something, and actually let's just hear it. Let's hear it from Bernie Sanders' mouth. Then I kind of want to get into what it all means and how it's so hypocritical, and how we are going to be the ones, investors and future investors, that's going to be affected by this new law. Let's listen to it right quick.
Today, the major Wall Street banks are larger than ever. Their profits are soaring, and their CEOs receive huge compensation packages. Our proposal, which costs $2.2 trillion over 10 years, will be fully paid for by a tax on Wall Street speculation. Okay.
Now I want you guys to hear what Bernie Sanders said. He said that $2.2 trillion to forgive and to pay off all the student loan debt in America, as well as provide free tuition, college tuition, for anybody who want to go to college, as well as trade schools. It can be paid off in 10 years, right? With them taxing Wall Street. But if you notice how he was real kind of vague on how that's supposed to happen, I know what he's talking about. Think about it. If you're in the garden, and I talk about investing, and I talk about pay yourself first, and I talk about making sure that you try to build wealth and make sure your family and your financial situation is secure, right? You don't do that by just working. And it seems to me that all these politicians are just basically advocating working and not investing, because Bernie Sanders' plan to tax the Wall Street speculations, well, that's all, everyone that wants to invest in the stock market, in the bonds market, in the derivatives markets, in the commodities market. If you have the discipline and you start saving your money, paying yourself first, and you actually want to uh, build wealth, you know you have to do that during investing, right? Well, Bernie Sanders, quote unquote, bailout is not a bailout for us as investors, as people who want to get themselves in a better financial situation. It's only going to help those who doesn't invest, right? So, Bernie, your plan and policy is basically geared toward one group of people, those who've never invested before. Okay, and so you say you want to do this to help the middle class, but how does it actually help the middle class? You want to, okay, because what about the middle class that's trying to aspire to be higher class? And how do they do that? Start paying themselves first and start investing. Well, what you basically did was stymie that effort. Because remember, if he's saying that his $2.2 trillion bill will be paid for in 10 years by taxing Wall Street, because like he said, in 2008, the American people bailed out Wall Street, meaning there was over $700 billion that taxpayers had to pay to the banking system and to the automotive system in taxes, right? Why? Because the banking system gave out all those loans that they knew, which remember it was called the subprime era. They gave out all those subprime loans to people that they know they weren't going to be able to pay, afford, and so the market, the real estate market crashed. But that wasn't the American people's fault. That was the bank's fault, right? And then the auto industry. Hold up. How does American people have to bail out the auto industry when the American people are the ones that buy the cars from the auto industry? Okay, so if you go a little bit and do a little revisionist history, you go back to 2008. This is the same stuff that's happening, but on the flip on it, got a little twist to it. See, in 2008, it was the banks and it was the auto industry. Okay, and they used the mortgage collapse to bail out the auto industry and the banks, right? Now, what they saying today, Bernie Sanders wants to bail out. He wants to bail out the student loan debt by making people that want to invest pay for it. All right. So I just think that's kind of disingenuous, fam. So if you started investing, or if you're thinking about investing, then make sure you just pay yourself first. There's no way this bill is going to go through. Bernie Sanders, you're a millionaire. I'm pretty sure you got a nice portfolio. I'm pretty sure you make trades and have bonds and have derivatives. You're going to tax this, you're going to tax yourself. So it's disingenuous. Okay? Remember, Bernie Sanders is the same guy who voted for the auto industry to be bailed out. He also voted for the Wall Street bailout, but he didn't vote for the $700 billion bailout. He had his own proposal that he wanted to, thought that would help. But it was still like billions of dollars that he wanted the American people, quote unquote, to pay for. So it's like, robbing Peter to pay Paul. So, I mean, family, go back and check out my last video I just dropped about politicians plus narcissism equals election time. Because this is basically what it is. And so, like I said, I only made this live to come back and tell you, please continue to pay yourself first, but understand that when if you're dealing with politics and you're voting for a particular presidential candidate, then just understand if you're a Democrat, then they're not focusing on individuals that's trying to improve and increase their wealth and situation, because they only want to, quote unquote, tax the rich, which the rich is those that have made a sacrifice and started investing and have probably $1 million with net worth, or a couple of million. But that's who he's taxing. The super rich, not even affected by this. Okay, and before I get out of here, guys, let me just say, the top 25% of the richest people in America, top 25%, right? They have over a third of the student loans. So you're really helping the rich as well. Okay? Well, fam, I just want to come back with a 10-minute live. Hope this information was kind of helpful, kind of give you some information on, how these bailouts really don't help anybody, quote unquote, the American people. It only helps the rich. It's only disguised in language that helps people not understand what the true objectives are. If Bernie Sanders want to forgive all debt for everybody, no matter what the wealth bracket, no matter how much money they make, at least Elizabeth Warren is saying, "Well, I forgive up with her proposal is to forgive up to $50,000 in student loan, but if you make over $250,000, you don't apply." Okay, so you're still leaving people out because people that went to law school and went to med school that are millionaires. You don't think they're paying? You don't think they have student loans they have to pay off? So they don't apply for it? Are they not eligible? See how the ambiguity is crazy, right? So if I just want to come back to some quick information about how these bailouts, whether it's the auto industry, the bank industry, or the student loan industry, it doesn't benefit anyone but the rich. Okay, and even when those like myself and those like the family in the garden, it's just those in general. It's a small percentage of those that do it, but those that want to increase their wealth by investing, by getting this information, by getting the knowledge to get yourself in a better financial situation. Now you're talking about Bernie Sanders want to come and say, "Hey, let's tax him," because remember, those that are super rich, they're already wealthy, a 10% tax, a quarter tax, that's not gonna hurt them. It's only going to hurt those that are trying to increase their wealth. You did? All right, friend, I just want to come back quick information or quick live, just to piggyback on my last video. Friend, thanks for joining me tonight. In the meantime, between time, may the Most High Side bring you joy and being with us out of 5,000.